This is actually really relevant to Tesla. One of the senators in the US urged the US Treasury today to adopt the strictest possible standards to prevent Chinese-produced minerals or Chinese battery companies from winning electric vehicle tax credits. All Model 3s and Model Ys sold in the US currently qualify for the full $7,500 federal tax credit, even though 42,000 of the 160,000 Model 3s and Ys Tesla sells in the US per quarter are Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drives that use CATL LFP cells imported from China. And this is where it gets really interesting. The Inflation Reduction Act requires that in 2023, 40% of critical minerals in the battery in terms of value need to be sourced either domestically or from a country that has a free trade agreement with the US. However, it doesn't specify how the 40% should be calculated. In other words, you could have 60% of your vehicles with 100% Chinese-made batteries, and only 40% of your vehicles have 100%, let's say, domestically made batteries in the US. Now, the requirement next year goes up from 40% to 50%, but with that strict language from that US senator, they could maybe change some of these rules, which would be bad news for Tesla. Unless Tesla can somehow quickly transition from using these CATL batteries from China to batteries made in the US or in one of the countries that has a free trade agreement with the US. If there's one thing that most of our politicians, not all, but most of our politicians agree on, is that we should weaken China. So while this is not great news for Tesla, I think Tesla has probably a plan B for a situation like this. So I think it knows what to do and how to handle this. And Tesla is a very nimble company. So if there's a company that can handle this change, it is Tesla. Troy here made an uncomfortable prediction for many Tesla stock investors. I think the federal tax credit for the Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive will drop from $7,500 to $3,750 in 2024. It will lose the $3,750 in 2024 and the second one in 2025. That's because it is divided into two categories. One half is for battery components and the other half is for critical minerals. And the US government says that beginning in 2024, an eligible clean vehicle may not contain any battery components that are manufactured by a foreign entity of concern. And beginning in 2025, an eligible clean vehicle may not contain any critical minerals that were extracted, processed, or recycled by a foreign entity of concern, which is China. But Troy thinks that the long-range trims will still get the credit, so that's good. And also the silver lining here is that, according to some surveys, most people do not know about these credits yet. And the credits that will be applied from January 1st next year will be applied immediately at the time of purchase. So you will see the benefit of the credit immediately. You will not need to wait for as much as a year for you to get your credit back. So there's a possibility that with all of that going on, we may not see any negative effects even if Tesla loses part of the credit. But that remains to be seen.